Hi everyone, I'm Joanna.
And I'm Jenny.
And this is Hyphenated, the podcast about living in the hyphen. How are you, Jenny?
I love how you're automatically laughing before I give an answer. I'm just tired.
I feel like tired has become like my personality trait. You know how some women have babies and that's their new personality? Is like being a mom. I'm like tired and I just feel like that's enough for me to be like, I'm a tired person. Like that's just who I am. I'm Venezuelan, I'm tired, and I love cheese. Like that's it. That describes me.
Well, no, it's especially the anthem of us invisible illness warriors. It's like tired and inspired.
Oh God, inspired?
I've seen that on multiple t-shirts.
That's exhausting.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being inspired, honestly. I'm just trying to get through, dude. Seriously. So Jenny, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You know how a lot of people claim that I always read these interviews of people like, I knew I had to be an artist, or like, I knew I had to be a comedian, and like, I knew I had to be a director. And they always have this very epic story. Like, well, I was watching a Hitchcock film and I realized that the tension that, you know, I saw on screen resembled the tension that like, whatever. There's always this grandiose story for why you choose what you do. And I realized that every time I got asked that question, I didn't really have a grandiose story other than like, yeah, I was like an anxious kid and I moved around a lot and I was bullied, so I just needed something. Do you know what I mean? And like, that's not a grandiose story. That's just like context for who I am. What do you, like when you get asked that question in interviews, like what is your response? I wish I had a big moment, like a big epiphany moment, but I just kind of don't. It's kind of like what I was, that like just sort of didn't give me any other options and careers.
I think I do. I think I do have a big epiphany moment. And it's really bizarre because the year that I was at my most mentally ill that I have ever been in my life, I'm talking the year that I would cry about going to school every day, where I would have panic attacks during lunchtime, where I would beg teachers to let me go home, where I just was not okay, is the year that I discovered that I wanted to be a comedian for the rest of my life, because for some reason I decided I'm going to learn 3 monologues. I won first place across the board, and I got chosen to perform in front of an audience of 300 people. It was actually a very clever monologue about like a cheesy saleswoman trying to sell scratch and sniff Bibles. And honestly, comedy and acting is what saved me.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, it's unsurprising that when people know what they want to do, especially in comedy, it's actually not a funny story. It's
really tragic. I know.
Trauma. It was never like, I stepped on a bologna sandwich and fell on my butt. Like, it's never stories like that. You know what I mean? So this is actually a perfect segue for our guest that we have here today. He's seriously one of the funniest people I know, and he's one of the first people I met in the comedy community here in New York. Eitan Levine, he has written for the New York Times. He has a podcast called NYC is Dead. He also said it was very important for me to mention that he is on Hinge. He's single and ready to mingle. But Eitan, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Hey.
I am like shaking in my sneakers because you've got some crazy stories and some crazy insights.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really wanted to bring you on because I think much like us, you're someone that has had to sort of straddle being parts of different worlds.
Yeah.
And not just one. So, like, tell us a little bit about your upbringing. We kind of talked about what brought us into comedy. What sort of forced you into the world of comedy?
It was a Christian speech telling competition that I.
Whoa!
No, I was born and raised like in a modern Orthodox Jewish household. So we weren't like Hasidic. I think like that's like a big thing, but like we were like Shabbos and kosher. Went to like an all boys Jewish school. But like we were Met fans and we had TVs, so like how like segregated could we have possibly been? But then I mean honestly, like as the years have gone by since I've been in that education system and that community. You're looking back on some of the stuff and you're like, wow, that's not a okay behavior or like normal behavior or normal community standards and stuff like that.
When you're in it, you don't realize how weird it is until you leave.
Yeah. In it, you're just like, well, there's no women my age around. I guess that's normal.
It's kind of like when I went to college in the States, and I was like, yeah, well, oh God, I just got a call. Yeah, my aunt was held hostage in her house with all of her kids and stuff, and whatever. It's fine. My mom is negotiating with police because they're the ones that sort of are holding her hostage. And I remember like the faces of my American friends, like, yo, that's not fucking normal. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah. But right. It's like when you're in it, you don't think it's weird.
I was telling some friends, like this is a thing that it didn't dawn on me how weird this thing was until recently. But when I was in high school, I walked into my high school cafeteria and there was, all boys, modern Orthodox school. The principal gets up there and there's a guy like dressed in like Muslim attire. And my principal goes like, hey, this is Muhammad. We like to give you guys like other world perspectives and cultures. So like this is Muhammad. Muhammad's going to like speak to you guys. And he starts speaking and like a half hour into his speech, he starts saying like inflammatory things like, yeah, well, maybe a couple of Israelis do need to die. Or like, if they didn't want to get attacked, then maybe they shouldn't have taken our wall and stuff. And the people in our school, like the students start yelling at this guy and they're like, you can't say that, you're defending murderers. And then the guy, Muhammad's yelling back like, you're defending murderers. They took my hometown. And like Muhammad and the kid and like the students are like yelling back and forth at each other. And it's like getting really intense. And then Muhammad just goes, stop, enough. And then he takes off his Muslim hat and he puts on a Jewish black hat. Oh and God. He goes, my name's Rabbi Rosenthal, and this is the David Project. Like
what?
Like it was like Jewish punked or something, and then we like had to go and like learn about Israel advocacy. I swear to God.
Oh wait! I thought it was gonna be. I thought the moral of the story was like, see, like, I'm a Jew and I can also be hateful. It isn't that. It is. I'm a Jew, and I'm pretending to be a Muslim guy. Look how bad Muslims are.
It's the old Jerusalem switcheroo.
The old Jerusalem switcheroo
is the classic name. No, but like that was like a fucking thing. And for years, it didn't dawn on me that this was weird behavior. For years, I was just like, well, that was Rabbi Rosenthal teaching it. There was, another thing I realized, my sex talk. I didn't get a sex talk. This is the extent of sexual education in my school was that one day, the principal took us into a room and he said, okay, guys, we're going to be mature about this, all right? Ejaculation must be held to the vaginal canal according to the Torah. And then gave us a 45-minute speech on not touching women. And, like, that was our... First of all, also, we hadn't met women yet. Like, this was...
Let alone a vagina or vaginal
I would have actually appreciated boys in my school being told not to touch women. That would have been great education.
It was confusing. To that point, the only thing we knew about them was that like they were the devil and we had to ejaculate in them.
My God.
It wasn't any...
That sounds like a great rap song. Yeah. They're the devil, but I must ejaculate.
That's the Devil's Ejaculant is my ska band. Actually,
oh my God.
I do think that, Judaism for me isn't religious because I'm an atheist. But since my family, my dad's side, we just like were kicked out continuously from every country. We just aren't from anywhere. So we're just like, I guess we're Jewish because like what else?
You're Venezuelan Jew. There's like 12 of you at tops.
We're all related. Yeah. So, for me, I remember my grandfather. We weren't in a synagogue in Venezuela because all synagogues in Venezuela are Orthodox, meaning that women sit at the top and men sit like where the action happens. Me and my grandpa were sitting at my synagogue at Washington, D.C., and we were reading a prayer, and he leans over to me and he said, do you really think if God existed, he'd want this much flattery? So that for me was a moment of like, oh my God, my grandpa doesn't believe in God. What am I doing here? Do you know what I'm saying? It was just like why are we here then?
Because of my personal like religious journey or whatever, like it took a while to get okay with me celebrating or just like observing Judaism in a way that wasn't so constraining and conflicted. Like being able to question the basicness of that stuff. Like Judaism lets you question a lot of stuff, but like the vibe, like questioning like, does God really want all this flattery is more like the vibe that I think that you're not allowed to kind of question.
In Orthodox environments.
Yeah. Jews, like, I will give us credit because I think that we are able to ask a lot more questions than other religions, but I think that getting okay with celebrating Judaism in a way that wasn't so constricting and you know, it just didn't feel suffocating and it felt like I was doing it wrong. You know, every day I felt like I was doing it wrong because I wasn't a good student. You know, like I went to like a Jewish day school and I was a bad student. Like I had like learning disabilities and stuff like that. And I've been fine since, but like if you fail public school, you're just bad at math. If you fail Jewish school, you're a terrible person.
Oh my God.
You know, like, and that was like, you know, and that's like a thing that like I had to reconcile. Like for years, I could not understand why I had this chip on my shoulder for years. And I took therapy to like realize like why it felt like I was a bad person for so long because I wasn't able to figure this thing out.
Oh,
so it's quite a jump to be in an Orthodox religious Jewish community and grow up there and then start doing shows at stand-up clubs in New York.
Well, I started when I was 15.
My God.
Yeah. I was in Jewish day school when I had started, and when I was younger, I had cancer, and because of that, I was like journaling a lot, and the journal, you know, like looking back on it, it was a lot of like just writing jokey paragraphs, and so by 15, I had, you know, written comedy, whatever a 15-year-old version, you know,
of comedy is.
Yeah, like it wasn't great. I think I had some. I think this is like, first of all, I think everything I said in that 5 minutes was probably get me canceled, like on Twitter nowadays.
Eitan, I was going to say, how many of it was dick jokes? Because it's like, you know, and there you go.
I'm sure there was a dick joke. How could there not be a dick joke?
how could there not?
So I was doing comedy when I was like 15, and it was like away from my family. My family like just kind of knew that I was like gone certain days, and that was it. And then I kept it on doing it. Like it was something that I enjoyed and stuff like that. And then I went to Israel for a year and it won Israel's Last Comic Standing in 2008.
Wow.
Which was like right out of high school. I don't know if it aired anywhere. It doesn't feel like it was a legitimate production, but you know, it was what it was. You know, so I came back and I continued. I was doing comedy stand-up, but I was performing in like Hillel and Chabad houses, like at colleges for a while.
Which Hillel and Chabad houses are like Jewish student houses, like it's like kind of like a culture house.
Yeah. It's if you're a Jew on a college campus and you want like kosher food, like that's where you go, depending on the college. But yeah, so I was weirdly I was like still doing like Jewish stuff, you know, like I was like doing Jewish comedy stuff. But yeah.
But and correct me if I'm wrong. You know, comedy world is like, oh, there's a lot of Jewish people in the comedy world. But it's not the type of Jew that is like religious, right? Yeah. I feel like there's something inherently like contradicting.
Yeah, and I think that also the big issue I always saw was that the religious comics that would come out there, their material would be like, my bubby ate a kugel and it's Shabbos. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Like it was just saying Jewishy things with no substance at all, very charactery, and like I sound very Jewish when I'm on stage, especially when I get like heightened, you know. But it's more than just like, let's see if I can say as many Jewish sounding cha words in 7 minutes as possible.
You know, I kind of see that in a lot of like Latino stand up shows that is sort of like bubbling right now, but it makes me cringe when I see like a comedian go up there and instead of just speaking their truth or thinking what they think is funny is what they should say, they like harp in on stereotypes.
I was doing shows. I've now been conscious of something where like if I'm doing certain shows, like I performed in like Chattanooga, you know, a couple, I guess like months ago at this point. But when I was there, I was about to go on stage at a club, and very nice club, but the clientele is very Tennessee. And I remember walking up there being like, you're not going to say any Jewish jokes here. Like, I don't want them laughing at you. Like, they're going to laugh with you if you are doing stuff. So there's been a weird like realization of like how the audience is perceiving you, you know, is how they're laughing at the joke. So if they're seeing, you know, Jewy McJew, the first Jew I've seen, you know, in a month, then if I'm doing, you know, stuff about my, you know, about Jewy McJewerstein is my stage name, by the way. Let me just say that. Yeah. You know, but I experienced it a couple of times where I'm hearing people laugh at jokes and I'm like, oh, you're not laughing at that joke the way that I am laughing at this joke. You're laughing at that joke because you're seeing a Jewish guy on stage, you know, saying Jewish stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
Which is crazy how the same joke can be laughed with and laughed at.
I have a joke about how my name is Eitan, and it's like a Hebrew name, and the joke is like, oh, it means Christ killer in Hebrew. But then
in a room full of like New York Jews and it's like, oh, it's a joke about how people perceive him.
Yeah. But like I'm not going to say the club because I don't think it's their fault, but like, you know, I know how their clientele would laugh at that joke and just be like, that's a hilarious Jewish name. You know? And
laughing at the wrong part of the joke.
Yeah. Which is something I've not experienced until this year. Yeah.
And I always say this, I say that being Jewish is like having an American Express card because it has incredible benefits, like amazing benefits. You're part of like a great club, whatever, but it's not accepted everywhere. And like, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting because a lot of people have told me I'm unable to comment on Venezuela because I'm Jewish, right? Because Jewishness is perceived as this weird amalgam of identities that it's overpowering. And in Venezuelan QAnon, people started saying that the Jewish people in Venezuela were the cause of, like, you know, the horrific living standards there now, the communism, entre comillas, in quotes, communism, socialism, whatever that means for them. And they started sort of posting about me and my dad being part of this like Jewish high rule community, secret society that wants to put people down economically so that we can, you know, reap the benefits of capitalism with Soros. And I was just like, are you fucking serious? What? Like, you guys should write Lord of the Rings, man. Like, what? This is just some fable. Like, what a complex system you guys had to create to just somehow make the Jews at fault for what's happening in Venezuela. Like, it's
I'd watch that HBO show. That sounds fun. I think like something also is that like I think that Israel problems and anti-Semitism get smushed together in the most uncomfortable way possible. And I think that a lot of times like anti-Semitism upticks when Israel stuff gets funky. And I think that people often will use I don't know how I feel. I disagree with Israel's government, and therefore I will not really address or be concerned with anti-Semitism upticks.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that, you know, it's just wrong. And it happens every fucking time, especially because most Jews don't fucking like Netanyahu. Like, we don't agree with what the government's doing. And it is infuriating how immediately people think that, like, oh, you're Jewish, you must think XYZ about Israel, and that is why I don't care that XYZ is happening to your community.
It's like what happened. It's like saying all Americans are Trump supporters because when Trump was president, like that's not unfair. And you know, the Israel problem is the Israel problem, as if it's just a problem. Like the fuckery is very similar, I think, in the way that it is treated in the States as like Cuba and Venezuela. And I see a lot of correlations because, well, Jenny just went through this, but you know, the idea of like a country, an external country, representing somehow the American U.S. political binary, and people not wanting to inform themselves enough to have a complex view on it and just putting it as like on one or the other.
I have a hard time telling people I believe in God because they automatically assume that I am an alt-right picket, a gay wedding, gay funeral. Like I am like a bigot, right? And then if I say I'm Cuban, they think Trumper, they think Republican, conservative, and that's a really hard time for me.
Right, because like, and it happens because I see it a lot there's like a lack of nuance in the conversation with Israel, and then there's lack of nuance in conversation with Cuban political issues and Venezuelan issues, and then I think the issue with the Israel issue is that it then reflects on all Jews everywhere.
Yeah.
You know how many times on Twitter I get like, "Oh, when are you going to speak out about Israel?" And I'm like, why?
In 140 characters?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Like 100. I mean, I can't explain what I feel, and I also am not informed enough. I wasn't born a Jew, and then like a chip in my head about Israel was just implanted. Like even though that's what a lot of QAnon people think, but it's just like
that's what they do in America. They don't do it in Venezuela. I got my chip taken. Yeah.
You got your Jew. Yeah. You got your Jew chip in.
Or as they say, the mark of the beast.
Yeah. My horn.
Well, the point is that like you're very much like us in that you're liberal. I'm liberal. I have views and thoughts about Cuba and Venezuela and Israel that aren't expressed in the liberal bubble, because I think I'm more moderate and nuanced with my opinion, but then I'm afraid to say it.
It's because people like to have extreme polarizing takes.
Yeah.
Like no one ever wants to sit down and just be like, everyone involved in this thing is wrong.
Oh, people
like,
love that.
Everyone just wants to throw all of the energy and blame on the one thing they understand versus like the sea of information that they're ignoring to get to this one thing. When like realistically in every one of these conflicts, like every side is so fucking, the way that we had got into a conflict is both sides being so remarkably wrong that it got to a point where the people living there were just accepting violence and strife and you know, it just,
yeah.
That's my whole take.
Okay, well, now I want to shift the conversation a little bit because, you know, we've been talking about your religion, about Israel, about your Orthodox upbringing. And I just want to understand how within all of this, you won an award in the adult film industry.
I won two.
Like you won
two?
Two awards.
Wow.
Yeah, actually.
What is it called? The AVN Awards?
Let me take you guys on a little bit of a trip.
Oh, we're gonna look at the trophies.
We're gonna look at the trophies.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
We're gonna look at the. So these are.
Whoa!
Oh my God! This is
the Alexander Hamel dough that I was given.
Oh my God! Okay, so
I'm so turned on right now.
So those Oscars. Those look like Oscars that are having sex.
They are. I joking that they're Mr. that they're Irene and Wayne Levine has been the joke that my parents hate.
So how does a Orthodox Jew boy, and only I can call you Orthodox Jew boy, Jenny, you try to say Orthodox Jew boy, and you will be. How do you wrote a porn?
So basically what happened was that I was an entertainment journalist for a while, which was awesome. I covered, like, I wrote like 4 to 5 articles about the Kardashians every day.
What a dream. What an American dream.
Loved it. I mean, if you wanted to, I truly no more fascinating people on the planet. I used to write all these conspiracy theory articles about them, about like everything bad that has happened to the Kardashians in the past like 7 years has happened in the last week of September or the first 2 weeks of October. Like straight up.
Okay, but what does that mean?
Like the nude leaks, like Lamar's stroke, Kim's robbery, like divorces, pregnancies, it all happens in the same 3 weeks. That's how they control like the flow of information from their family. There's never more than 2 Kardashians trending at once. I don't know what it's like now, but like back in like 2016 or something, it was like anytime like modeling season would go down, like Kylie Lipkit would like release a new thing, or like it's like.
This sounds exhausting.
This sounds like you're part of QAnon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bam.
Wow.
Bam. Thank you so much.
Tweet that.
This is why I went to college. Yeah.
That is incredible. Us Weekly is QAnon. You have to Okay.
I didn't know this side of you, this Kardashian loving side.
Oh my God. All I would do, because I came in there from I didn't come in there from a place of reverence. I came in there because it was like a job. It was like a writing job. So I came in there from I was covering hockey news and hard news before that. So I came in with that same, but with that same angle, but for the Kardashians and Taylor Swift.
But did you give a shit at all about these people? And then suddenly you have to
No, it was hilarious. It was so funny. I didn't care about these celebrities at all, but I would write about them it was make or break. For 2 years I would write a high school girl.
I can't believe we're talking about the Kardashians. I vowed when I began this podcast we wouldn't be here, but here we are.
So they start doing so I asked them to start doing video stuff, and I ended up doing 3 weird jobs with them. That were part of this mini doc kind of thing that they did. And the first job I was in Ringling Brothers Circus for a couple of days.
What the fuck?
Wait, what do you mean join the circus?
Eitan, what is happening? Oh my God.
Without any skills? Did you know how to walk on a tightrope? What?
Well, that's the thing is that they had anytime a newscaster goes to the circus, they're here, hang with the dogs. You're the contortionist. Try to ride a unicycle, which I couldn't do. And also, the funny thing about the circus is everyone in the circus is hot.
Okay.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And everyone is a contortionist or bodybuilder or a Brazilian dude on a bike in a giant iron dome. And I'm you guys all fucking? What is happening?
You guys all fucking.
And they go, listen, we can't talk about it because it's a family organization, but yeah, we're fucking. We're 100%. We're fucking.
God.
This is everyone in the circus is fucking. So that's the first thing.
So wait, as a reporter, you were actually trying to see who was fucking who because of all your Kardashian background. That's what your job was.
There was even the clowns were hot, which was hilarious. And they're all old. They're all UCB performers. That was the whole thing. They all had improv training, so they're all hot and yes-anding, which is
wow.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, wow,
transferable skills. And that's the thing about the circus. The second thing was that I was in the Paparazzi for a week, which was another. The mindfuck there was that I went in there thinking the paparazzi would be scummy, and what I left was that everyone is scummy.
Wait, what do you mean you were in the paparazzi? You were a paparazzi photographer?
Yeah, no, this was I emailed. I think I'm really good at getting access to stuff. That's the thing is that I was so good at if I had an idea for a video, and this plays into the porn thing, but this all is leading up to the porn thing. What the interesting thing about the paparazzi was that we had got there and we knew where the celebrities were. Okay, so the reason we knew where these people lived were because the publicists and the managers will tell the paparazzi where their clients are going to be so that they can go get pictures. So first of all, if you ever notice when a paparazzi person, when a celebrity is being photographed, the label's out. It's always it's not the bag is this way. The bag's always facing the camera.
You mean the label for whatever brand they're wearing that day is out?
Yeah. It's not only it's angled towards. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the managers and the PR people give the paparazzi the locations of their stars, knowing full well that the paparazzi frequently will follow the stars until they go home so that they can know where their homes are. So we knew where Ariel Winter lives. We knew where Vanessa Hudgens lived just because we had been their managers gave the paparazzi information about where they were going to be so that they can follow them. So the paparazzi are wrong because they overstep constantly, and the managers are wrong because they're giving people this information. It was such a fucking everyone is wrong here, and that is part of the problem. Because then the celebrities will go on and talk about how bad the paparazzi are. The celebrities know full well what their managers are doing, and the managers have this conversation with them where they're like, "You want to become famous? You're gonna require the paparazzi to follow you around, and you can't unsign them. You can't turn it off. The more famous you want to become, the bigger problem they're going to be. And this is what you're agreeing to."
Eitan, where's the porn?
And now we're going to the porn.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Third part of this docuseries was that I pitched them to become a staff writer for a porn website. Pornhub has a PR company.
Wait. Eitan, wait. Sorry. So did you try to like, you wanted to be a writer for the porn websites as like an experiment?
Yes. Yeah. I was curious what the pitch process was like in porn. I honestly was like, how does a parody porn get made? That was like the bigger question. It was the original idea also was to like, can I write like the best script, like the most emotionful, like the best porn script? And then it kind of evolved to like getting a porn company to like take pitches, and then eventually those pitches, they accepted Hamilton. The porn companies have PR companies because Pornhub has like a scholarship program and stuff. They do like some philanthropy. So this was a bunch of me emailing people and having them say yes to this project until it gave me like an audience with Wood Rocket, which is a porn studio, and they do parody porn. I pitched them Hamilton. They picked it up. And then we filmed. So we went to Vegas to write the porn. And then while we were there, we saw the set. We did. Wood Rocket is famous because they made SpongeBob SquareBalls, Ass Venture Time, Stroke-A-Mon, Fap to the Future. Gotta fap them all. So Hamilton fit into the catalog, to the Criterion collection over there, and they made. So eventually, the issue was that the guy that owned the company got sick. So I just thought that Hamilton wasn't going to get made, and eventually, I get a friend of mine texts me and goes like, "Hey, a friend of mine got cast to write the music for your porn," and I was like, "Oh my god, like that's crazy! That's since I thought they weren't going to make it," and I call him. The guy that runs the studio, and I was like, "Are you guys making the porn?" And he goes, "Yeah, we've been emailing you." And I'm like, "Oh, my email got shut down because Elite Daily had fired everybody by this point." So the email, and he was like, "Yeah, we were tweeting at you." And the thing is, my name is Eitan Levine, very Jewish name. I don't know who the hell he was tweeting at, but he was tweeting at someone that was like, "Hey, Eitan, I'm making your porno."
This poor rabbi in Wisconsin is like, "What the hell, man?"
Like, I don't say, Miriam, I don't know what this is. I swear to God.
Oh my God.
And then they make it. And then a couple months later, I get an email from him that it gets nominated for 4 AVN Awards, which was like crazy, for Best Featurette, Best Marketing Campaign, and soundtrack, clever title. And then I think that was 4. And then the idea was also when I got nominated was to do like a for your consideration campaign. So for about 2 weeks, we had filmed this thing where we you could buy a Hamiltonut from DK's Donuts, or the guy that wrote Friday by Rebecca Black wrote us an anthem. And so it was this whole thing. And I went to the red carpet. I interviewed on the red carpet a bunch of people.
So you wrote a porn almost as a joke, and then it got made. It got made. It was a joke that kept on oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what?
That sounds like a fucking blast.
It was insane. I wasn't there for the actual filming, which is fine. I did not want to be there for that. I'll never do it again. I don't want to be porn guy.
I mean, I get it. I almost edited porn in Miami.
What, Jenny?
For Bang Bros.
Jenny. Hello?
Yes, Joanna.
What? You almost edited porn?
Why do you think I moved to LA? In Miami, you have 2 options. Work at Univision until you're 95 years old, or work in the porn. I have a bunch of friends that still work in the porn industry till this day in Miami because they left film school, and it pays well. And
I mean, it also, porn, for years and years and years, it was very much a community that was run by the producers and directors and stuff like that. And over the past couple of years, because of OnlyFans and stuff like that, it's given a lot more agency to the actresses in it and stuff. So porn right now is a very different, it's weirdly one of the only it's one of the only business communities where women have a lot more agency in the community. They're able to run their own businesses a lot more. I have a lot of friends that did very, very well during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I feel left out. I'm the only person here that hasn't even dipped her toes in producing or editing. Or
do you know how much money those toes can make you?
Oh, I know. I'm on WikiFeet. Joanna, I'm pretty sure you're on WikiFeet, Joanna.
I'm on WikiFeet. I am. I was confused. I know Freud and like I understand what fetishes are, but I didn't understand it was a foot fetish site until like I kept on saying like I don't know why my feet are on this like site called WikiFeet, and one of my friends one day was just like, "Dude, that's for people that are into feet." And I was like,
you can make money.
I feel so exposed. Like my feet are.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a friend that made like 500 something grand, like over Corona, showing her feet to people.
No,
Eitan,
no.
Please stop.
Please don't
right
do
now
this to
in
me.
this moment, in this fucking moment. Do not shit me. Just for her feet. Oh, we're on OnlyFans. Because let me tell you, I get complimented a lot on my feet.
You're leaving money on the table.
Eitan, if my co-host leaves to follow a career in feet fetish, I am going to be so pissed. It's all your fault.
Let me rep you. Listen. Listen. WME.
I've talked about it with my husband. I'm like, Mira, should I just, put some... I always have my toes done. And,
We went from like Orthodox Jew to like childhood to the circus to porn. Eitan Levine, this has been such a interesting conversation. Me and Jenny need a moment to just
if you have any questions, let me know.
Synthesize everything we just spoke about.
We're going to come back and do a documentary on this, on Hamilton.
A cockumentary.
I've
been calling myself Skin Manuel Miranda for about a year, so...
Jesus. Oh, God.
This devolved. We talked about the Israeli-Palestinian crisis and also this.
And you know what the thing is? I am not afraid of anything that I said here.
No, that's freeing and beautiful.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Eitan.
Bye.
Bye.
This conversation was crazy, but I think it sort of reiterates the thesis of what we wanted to talk about, which was, where you start out is very rarely where you end up. And we started out talking about Orthodox Judaism, and we got Kim Kardashian, we got the Israeli-Palestinian crisis, we have the circus, we have porn. And that was the conversation with Eitan Levine.
I am inspired. I am tired and inspired.
Tired and inspired. Tired and inspired. We started this saying there's no way we could be inspired.
I am awake now. I feel like I just got off a roller coaster at Six Flags.
Oh my God. Sex Flags. I am like... This is the raunchiest episode of Hyphenated I think we've ever done.
Pero I love how open he was about that, because I too have those thoughts. Like when I go to like carnivals, I would always be like, I'd see the trailers in the back and I'm like, they fucking. This has been my thoughts since I was like a fucking kid.
Oh my God.
Mira, yo soy una sucia. Yo soy una sucia.
Eres una sucia, mija, pero you know what?
But,
God bless.
But they're fucking though.